Hey Geek, so if you're buying your first real camera, then there's going to be a lot of things to learn, especially if the only camera that you had is your smartphone. And so today I'm going to be talking about this lens right here. This is a Sony FE 50mm f1.8 prime lens. And you're probably wondering, what is he talking about? So let me explain to this in general so then you could kind of get an idea of what the difference is between this and what you normally get with cameras. This is called a zoom lens. So a zoom lens allows you to change the focal length. And if you don't know what a focal length is, there's going to be numbers on your lens. For example, this is a 12 to 60. So in general, lower the number is, like this is 12, it's going to be a wider shot. And then the bigger the number, the closer it is going to be to the subject. So basically it kind of zooms in, okay? So that's probably like the simplest way to explain that. But there's definitely more complexities to it than that. But that's in general if you want to understand what that means. And for a lot of people, just having a zoom lens is going to give them the most versatility. However, there are these things called prime lenses. And this is where you're gonna have to understand a little bit more about how lenses work. But I'm gonna be showing you in some examples of the real world benefits and also some of the cons in using a prime lens versus a zoom lens. And so the biggest difference between a zoom lens and a prime lens is that a prime lens, it doesn't have a different focal length. This is 50mm and that's it. This one's 12 to 60. And the biggest difference here is the aperture. And if you don't know what that means, let me explain to you, because this is going to be pretty important. And whenever you get into this and you buy a lot of camera and lenses and get into sensor size and stuff, all of this is important. And so in general, the aperture is like basically the circular part of your lens. Okay, so it opens and closes, and that controls how much light comes in. So this is very similar to the pupil of your eyes. So if it needs to get more light in, it'll open up a lot larger. And then if it needs to let less light in, it'll get smaller. And a camera lens works the same way. And then to go along with that is this thing called an f-stop. This is when you see this thing called F and then followed by a number. For example, this is an f3.5 and then this is an f1.8. So this is where things get kind of confusing. But basically a f-stop is the measurement of the aperture, how large or small it is. And this is really backwards, but in the whole world of camera lenses, if your aperture is a smaller number, like this is f1.8 versus f3.5, this one will actually let more light in. And the benefits of that is you're going to be able to get a lot better bokeh or a blurrier background whenever you have a larger aperture or a smaller f-stop number. I know that sounds confusing, but now I'm going to show you some real world, benefits and also some negatives in getting a prime lens versus a zoom lens. But I think this is definitely a great option for you to have. And there's use cases for using prime lenses, but I think for a lot of people, they're probably going to use a zoom lens. But as you get into cameras more and more, then more than likely you will get a prime lens, or at least be interested in what the differences are. And so the first test I'm going to show you is actually what the Sony FE 50mm or prime lens are really good at, and that's when it comes to photography. So as you can see from these images, it just looks so much better with this super blurry background. So I feel for a lot of people, having a prime lens is probably going to be best suited for photography. And next up, I'm going to show you the actual different levels of bokeh or blurry background whenever you are using different types of cameras, but also different lenses. So here is the first camera. This is the Micro Four Thirds Panasonic G85. I am using a kit lens, and the maximum aperture on this one is 3.5. So this is the type of blurry background level that you can expect to get from a Micro Four Thirds camera with this lens. And now when using the Sony a7 IV full frame camera, I am using the kit lens, and this has a maximum aperture of 3.5, which is the same maximum aperture as the Panasonic G85, but this is a Micro Four Thirds versus a full frame camera lens, so it's not exactly the same, which leads me to the final test I'm going to do, and that is with my Sony 50mm f1.8 prime lens. And if all of that doesn't make sense, it's okay. I just want to show you the different level of bokeh and blurry background whenever you're using different cameras and different lenses. All right, so we're finally at the bokeh-licious level because I am using my Sony 50mm f1.8. This actually has the largest aperture versus my two other cameras. So this one is 3.5. This is my kit lens for the Sony a7 IV. And then for the Panasonic G85, it also has a maximum aperture of 3.5. And this can get kind of confusing because in the whole world of camera lenses, the whole aperture number is actually backwards. And so if you have a large aperture number, it doesn't let as much light in versus a smaller. So this whole portion right here, this whole iris of your lens, that is the aperture. So it controls how much light it lets in, just kind of like the iris in your eyes. And whenever you have a small aperture number like a 1.8, it actually allows more light in versus something like a 3.5, and that affects your overall level of bokeh or blurry background. All right, so now I am testing out the video performance, and this is definitely going to be a big difference for me because this is a prime lens and it's at a 50mm focal length. Because it's at this focal length, things are a lot closer. It looks zoomed in. And also, since it is a prime lens and not the zoom lens, I actually have to physically move my camera away because at 50mm, you don't get really a wide point of view. It's really narrowly focused. So in that case, everything is further away. And even though that's not really a big issue because I am inside my room, the bad thing is since it is further away, my microphone might not pick up my audio as well. So maybe in the future, I might have to get some type of portable microphone, especially if I'm out and about and I want to use this camera as a vlogging camera. I'm definitely going to have it a lot further away. And so that is the video performance on my normal YouTube talking head videos. Okay, so now I'm testing out the vlogging capabilities of this lens. And as you can probably tell, I'm in really close. So it looks like I'm zoomed in or cropped. And that's not the case because this is a 50mm lens. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, the higher the number, the narrower the field of view. And so things just look a lot more zoomed in. But it does look really good when it comes to the bokeh in the background. But unfortunately, even with my arms fully extended out, this is what you can expect. It's going to be really close to your face. So unless you had some type of really long tripod that you can extend, then it's not going to look great for vlogging. And at the same time, this lens does not have any type of lens stabilization, no OSS. And so I am using the stabilization on my camera body with active steady shot. And so it looks okay, but for vlogging, as you can tell, this is not ideal. So that is my review of the Sony FE 50mm f1.8. And as you can see, this is a really nice way to change the look of not only your photos, but also of your video. And especially for people who want that nice, beautiful, bokeh-licious, blurry background, you really can't go wrong with prime lenses. And at the same time, most of these prime lenses, they're going to be less expensive than your zoom lens. And so if you did want to support my channel and get this lens, I will leave it a affiliate link in the description area below. And if you had any thoughts on this prime lens or any other type of lenses that you like using on your cameras, be sure to leave that in the comments area as well. So as always, if you did get value out of these videos, be sure to share, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you on another episode. Hey geeks, if you are a brand new creator and you simply want something easy to get you started, well, I got something for you with my Creator Starter Kit. This is a super simple step-by-step guide that's going to take you from having no channel to developing your very first YouTube channel, along with ideas, thumbnail designs, and other creator tips, including marketing. And the best part is, all of this is free. Simply head over to the link below, check out my page, and get started creating.